Stamford Bridge where the rain all fine, we can shine all the time. Home or away, come and see us play. You're welcome any day. Hey, blue is the colour, football is the game. We're all together and winning is our aim. So cheer us on through the sun and rain, 'cause Chelsea, Chelsea is our name. Come to the shed and we'll welcome you. Wear your blue and see us through. Sing loud and clear till the game is done. Sing Chelsea, everyone. Oh, blue is the colour, football is the game. We're all together and winning is our aim. So cheer us on through the sun and rain, 'cause Chelsea, Chelsea is our name. Blue is the colour, football is the game. We're all together and winning is our aim. So cheer us on through the sun and rain, 'cause Chelsea, Chelsea is our name.
Alright, Chelsea Clinton. Chelsea Clinton fans. Strikers, dito tayo. Dito super. Indian na sige. Meron. Ayun, pwede ka bumili ng pipili na dun.
Stand in a few moments, okay? Now the Matthew Harding stand is where the hardcore Chelsea fans watch the game from, okay? Now of course today we're going to enjoy ourselves, take plenty of photos, plenty of videos. It's important to let everyone take photos. So if you go upstairs, take a seat first, okay? And then everyone can take photos from their seats, okay? Brilliant guys. So once again, as mentioned, we're at the famous Stamford Bridge, home of Chelsea, home of the best team in the world. No one can have any doubts about that, guys. Okay, brilliant. Okay, when we get upstairs, we'll do a quick introduction as well. Okay, follow me, guys.
Yes. Let's go.
ada angin tu. Kalau ada angin dia tolak.
London weather prepared for you, okay? Beautiful rain. Now, Stamford Bridge, very old stadium. But Chelsea was formed in 1905. Okay? So the stadium existed before Chelsea. The stadium was actually an athletics venue. I know there are many stadiums in the Far East and around the world that are multi-purpose. So Chelsea played in Singapore 1 year ago, and in Singapore they have an athletics track around the stadium as well. So that was happening in Stamford Bridge many years ago. Okay? Now over the years the stadium we are now in the massive honour stand. The famous stand because here we have the hardcore stand. Okay? The stadium can host 41,000 people.
We've got Stamford Costa! We've got Costa! Stamford Costa! A chance to take you on stand! You got to stay the ball! Stand Daniel! We've got Stamford Costa!
Next Saturday, Man United will be coming here to lose 4-0 again. Now I must tell you, the pitch is very close to the fans. Can you see how close the pitch is?
Yeah.
Very close. It's not very common, especially in other countries. Now at Chelsea we also have these nets. Can you see these nets? These are taken down for when the game starts. They are here for the practice only. Okay, but for the Man United game, we will leave it up. Yeah. Lukaku is their striker. Okay, sorry? No. We have the world's most expensive goalkeeper, so we will look after everybody. Okay, and guys, today we're going to go behind the scenes, we're going to go to the press room, we're going to be going into the away dressing room, we're going to go into the home changing room, we'll be going to the manager's seat a bit later on as well, so very busy tour, get to see Stamford Bridge behind the scenes. Okay? We have some famous banners just here. I'm sure you may have heard of Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard, anyone?
Yeah.
Chelsea's record goal scorer with 211 goals. John Terry, recently retired. He made some of the most appearances for Chelsea, but not the most. Okay, he's in the top 3, and he hasn't reached first place, unfortunately for him. Okay, we have a little surprise for you a bit later on. So guys, what we're going to do now, I'll just go through 1 or 2 of the rules. Okay, we have to stay together because we are a big group. Okay, we're going to go to the press room now. Okay, follow me, guys. Okay, if you want to come this way, we'll go to the press.
Ayan palang ano, bumubuhay sa ano.
Everybody looking at these.
Very cloudy in London. So the roast over there.
Bola tu tengok dia macam pro. Tak main.
Saan ka? Ayan. Dali lang ah. Wait. Ito ng pagkagawa ng mga labo. Dito kaya sila nagpa-practice? Yan.
Kaya mo na to.
Yan.
On a 4-4-2 or 4-5-1. It's all about that was a very special moment. I was cheering the head off and living like that.
Chelsea fan!
No seats we came from, we came that's the first seat during the game. We tried to facilities are desks and charging points, electronic TVs and keep up to date. We feed them.
ambition is to maybe win an FA Cup. And I played in the 1966 Cup final when Chelsea got beat to the Spurs. Lucky enough, 4 years later, they went against Leeds. Finished up 2-2. And as a youngster, as I say, it was always a dream. If you went through, the ultimate dream was to maybe play and win an FA Cup final, which I did. And I was the first captain ever to lift the FA Cup. And the following season, we won this European Cup Winners' Cup in Athens against Real Madrid. We drew the first game. There was no toss of the coins or anything like that, and we played the replay 2 days later and we won 2-1. So.
And did you hear that? They played the replay 2 days later. That doesn't happen very often now because there's a lot of organising. Of course, the players always get very tired as well. Okay, Ron didn't used to get tired. He used to play all the time. Okay. Now, the 70s was a very famous time for Chelsea. We had some really big legends play for Chelsea. Of course, none bigger than Ron Chopper Harris here. But he played with some really great players. Who would you say was the best?
I think that's one of the best. We had a fantastic camaraderie. A lot of the lads come through the youth ranks and work their way through. But I think the best player in that time we had was a lad called Peter Osgood. Big, tall centre forward, 6'2", could match it with any centre halves. And I think he was a fantastic player. We also had Alan Hudson and Charlie Cook, but we had a fine blend. We had a back four that were very, very aggressive, could have a little bit of a kick and a dig. Charlie Cook and Alan Hudson were the midfield dynamos, and up front we had the big lad Peter Osgood, and a great bunch of lads. Great bunch of lads.
Now, Peter Osgood, you may have seen, we have a statue outside the Millennium Reception. Did anyone see a statue on the way here? No? Unless you took, which entrance did you come in? Did you come with coach? Okay, so you probably haven't seen it yet. But if you come through the other entrance, the Britannia Gate entrance, you will see a statue of Peter Osgood, okay, a Chelsea legend, and as Ron described, one of the greatest players, possibly the greatest player to play for Chelsea, known as the King of Stamford Bridge. Now, Ron's already alluded to the 1970 FA Cup final. Now, the FA Cup is a very prestigious tournament in England. Of course, Chelsea are the current winners. We beat a team called Man United last year. That was fun, okay? Now, when Ron won it, the FA Cup was massive in England, okay? And it meant everyone would tune in. Now, the FA Cup final from 1970 has record viewing figures, okay? Now, you might know, how many people watched the FA Cup final from 1970 in England? Do you remember the number?
I wouldn't have a clue.
It was over 25 million people. Now, the UK has a population, well at the time was between 50 and 55 million. So almost half of the nation watched that FA Cup final between Chelsea and Leeds. Leeds were considered the best team at the time, but of course Chelsea prevailed that time with some very, very hard tackling. I'm told that Leeds had a few minutes to go, but Ron decided to take out one of their best players to make sure Chelsea could win the last few minutes. It's a bit like taking out Lionel Messi with 5 minutes to go when Barcelona need a goal.
Well, you know, what happened is that in the first game, they had a lad called Eddie Gray. He was a fantastic player, and we played on the left wing, and we had a lad called David Webb, who got a real chase in by this Eddie Gray, and when the replay come, we swapped over positions. I played right back, and my orders were, if you get half a chance of sorting him out, and he lasted about 5 minutes. So I'd like to think that as much as David Webb scored the winning goal, got all the accolades, I think I deserved a pat on the back for the tackle that left him limping for 85 minutes.
Okay, now obviously we're mentioning how much of a hard tackler Ron Chopper Harris was, but he was also a fantastic footballer. Scored quite a few goals for Chelsea. 14.
Yes, I beat some of the best goalkeepers, Gordon Banks, Peter Shilton.
Some very famous names
but
in English football.
In those 14 games, goals, I always include one of them because I sliced one in my own net against Pete Benetti, so I've claimed that one. So.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions for Ron? Any questions?
Ron, who's the best player you ever played against?
I think the best player that was I've ever marked was a lad called Georgie Best, and Best, he was, you know, was only a 5'8", very frail, very tricky, and you know, I remember Manchester United coming here one evening, and they used to always do quite well here, whereas we used to do better at Old Trafford, and I had, like, the manager Tommy Docky called me aside and said, look, you're marking this fella Georgie Best wherever he goes, you man mark him. Well, he gave me a real chasing, and we were 3-1 down at half time, and then scored twice and floated a lovely ball for Dennis Law to make it 3. And as I walked in the dressing room and sat down, Tommy Docky, the manager, wasn't too impressed, and he just said to me, I thought I told you to mark him closely. And I said, I tried to, Tom. I said, but every time I got near him, his teammates was either shaking his hand or patting him on the back. And I just said to him, well, you know, what do you want me to do, break his leg and get sent off? And he said, don't worry about that, son. They will miss him a lot more than we will miss you. So he was one of the greatest players that, you know, Dennis Law, there were some superb players around many years ago.
How many times do you reckon you kicked George Best?
Have we got time to talk about it? Well, a lot of the times I tried to rattle him and all that, but he was one of these fellas that he could go on the inside of you, he could go on the outside of you, but he was a superb lad, superb player. What he would be worth on the transfer market today, you know, when you look at what these fellas go for today, you know, he was superb, George.
Well, you're hearing it from Ron Chopper Harris, but I must tell you also, Pele described him as the greatest footballer of the 20th era. So when he gave, as Ron described, the chasing to Ron, he wasn't the only defender to struggle to mark George Best, one of the greatest. Okay, right, guys, we're going to give everyone a chance to come up here for a few photos now. Okay, we're gonna, if you want to come and sit next to Ron Chopper Harris, we'll grab a few photos. Yeah.
Baru nampak true colour kan.
Semua orang bayangkan gambar. Okey, berarti boleh ambil. Apa yang banyak? Binang
Yellow.
Zero. Ambil kau satu.
Bang, saya nak keeper je bang. Memang saya bakat betul keeper je.
Uy, ang ganda nito. Oh. Ito oh. Hoplot. Grabe yung hoplot to. Oo. Ito, oh, grabe oh.
Okay, everyone, so welcome to the home dressing room, okay? Now you can see it's a bit bigger, is it fair?
Yes!
Now look at your TV screen, you can see Marcus Alonso, he's spraying some champagne, okay? That happens a lot at Chelsea, okay? Because we have a problem, we win too much, okay?
No.
This room,
Welcome.
the main reason it is a bit bigger is because, of course, we need somewhere to celebrate.
Yes.
Okay, after the game, we won the game, lots of champagne, lots of dancing all over here. Now, in the past, this room wasn't always this big, and Ron will be talking about that in a few moments. I just mentioned very quickly about the current squad. Over here, we have the goalkeepers, of course, the world's most expensive goalkeeper, Kepa Arrizabalaga. Okay, very difficult name to pronounce. Over here, the Brazilians, very popular. Okay, I'm just going to ask you to step up for a moment, sir. Over here, we have Olivier Giroud's locker. Okay, a World Cup winner, of course, a former Arsenal player. And inside we have his slippers, okay? Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of eBay. Have you heard of eBay? Yeah. Yeah, okay. If you go onto my eBay account, you can buy these for £80, everyone, okay? Yeah? I'm joking, of course. And over here, electricity, very important for when David Luiz wants to curl his hair, okay? And in here, my favorite, because this is where the players keep their valuables. The players earn a lot of money, okay, so they have some very expensive watches, some very expensive car keys, and sometimes they forget about them in the morning, so I take them home, okay? Anyway guys, I'll just mention over here, a lot of the European players, we have 6 Spanish players at Chelsea, okay, and one of the famous players is Azpilicueta. Can we pronounce Azpilicueta?
Azpilicueta.
Very good effort, very good effort. But when he joined Chelsea, the Chelsea fans called him something else. They called him, anyone? They called him Dave. Dave. Can we pronounce Dave?
Dave.
Dave, we need to work on that one. I'm joking, okay? Now, because it's quite a difficult name, the English fans gave him a nickname, and now they will sing a song. We'll just call you Dave. Azpilicueta, we'll just call you Dave, okay? So it can't be that hard to say Azpilicueta since we sing about it, okay? Over here, a lot of the English players, the captain, Gary Cahill. Danny, drink water. Do we like drink water?
Yes, drink Carabao.
You like Carabao more?
Oh.
Yeah, good choice. There we are. Alright guys, I'll just mention 1 or 2 things and we'll let Ron come in and speak as well in a moment, okay? Now it's a good size in here, especially compared to the away dressing room. Across the room you can take plenty of photos, they have showers and they have an ice bath. The ice bath is of course very important because the players must recover after the game, okay? But it wasn't always this big, okay? And we'll get ready to talk about it in a moment, guys.
Galing, no? That's all right, Ron. I was just telling everyone how this room wasn't always this big.
No, it was about a quarter of this size, and as I said, you had one big laugh like they did here, and everybody used to jump in it. You know, if you wanted to wash your hair, you used to have to bring your own shampoo. I think if these lockers, they've even got aftershave. You know, but and it, you know, I don't know if you mentioned it. If you have a look around, like you've got say 2, 3, 4 of the English players stripped that side. You've got maybe some Spanish lads, and you know, that's the way it used to work. Like, but it's completely different.
Yeah, because